challenges that we're all facing, courtesy the current times that we're in. Before we kick off today's session, I'd like to establish some house rules for today. All opinions shared on this platform are personal takes. I'm sure you acknowledge the fact that we're in times that are usually volatile, dynamic, and everything seems to change every 60 minutes, if not lesser. So I would encourage you to take everything shared here in good faith. And if you'd like to ask any question, be it for the DSSC team, me, or even our guest for today, drop it on the live ticker below, and we will have a Q&A segment towards the end of the session. So ask away. We're more than happy to address these. I am going to quickly just for today's session of See You at 4. I'm in conversation with, I have known of him courtesy his fantastic work. He's the founder at Shift and also the creative head at Bhaane. Nimish, correct me if I'm wrong, but we met probably the first proper time at the Thali tradition last November. When we spoke of Google hosting that Punjabi Thali.
Yeah, true.
And then more recently, we met at this wonderful lunch thrown by Radhika, who's the founder of Number 3 Control.
Correct.
And then as luck would have it, she kind of placed us and we were sitting next to one another.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to reveal that probably that was the first proper time that marked like my mad fascination and warm regard for you. It's been incredible. And I remember like us promising one another that we're going to get drinks the next time.
So drinks all of us were expecting lots of drinks, and then we were deprived of that, which kind of bonded everybody together.
I know. But Nimish, can I just say one thing? Don't be fooled with what's in my coffee cup, huh?
Yeah. It's Friday.
It's 7 p.m. somewhere.
Exactly.
So everyone who's tuned in, thank you first of all for taking time out. Nimish is one of the coolest cookies in the hood. And I am going to be in conversation with him to try and understand the impact of the current lockdown on the fashion industry in specific. We're going to try address and chat about fast fashion and thereby its buying and consumption patterns, and also if and how brands and consumers will have to evolve. So, Nimish, thank you so much for taking time out. This is really, really cool.
Pleasure, my pleasure.
Okay, so Nimish, I'm going to ask you my first question. So, I feel now like, we're hitting a couple of weeks of the lockdown. The pandemic has shown that it hasn't really left any industry untouched.
Yeah.
The current lockdown, it's crippled operations of multiple industries across the globe. It's impacted craftsmen. We're seeing manufacturing and supply chains really being jolted. Is it fairly evident that the ecosystem needs a complete kind of reconstruction, reorganization of sorts?
Yeah, because it is, it's more like every time you run an electrical equipment, you really need to give it a break. When you're blowing your hair, like the hair dryer, you have to switch it off at some point. Otherwise, it's going to blow up. That's exactly what has been going on. We've been abusing and building resource on top of it. There hasn't been hygiene within our systems. There hasn't been enough checkpoints of whether we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It was always very commerce-led. So what this time period allows, and because it's a blanket thing, so it's nobody's in the race. The race is called off because when it is just one country, and let's say China had to shut down and India would go, then there is a commerce opportunity. But because it's China, India, America, like the buyers and the suppliers, all of them are on a standstill. So it's a fair game for everyone because it's bad for everyone. It's not bad for one person because then that revival is a much longer episode. So now what it really means is everybody is taking this time back forcefully to understand what do they really want to do, how they really want to make money in life and how much they want to work. On basic sort of, it's like, do I really need to kill myself over something like this because I only made like 5% or 10%? So everybody's thinking of how to improve quality. I don't think anybody is thinking of how to shop change in this particular time. They all want to say, okay, why don't we do less and do it better? That's the overall sentiment of like, I don't want to be aggressive. Let's not open like 50 stores. Let's open 20 stores and see how it goes. So everybody wants to do the same volume of business with a lesser scale. Everybody's looking at carbon footprint. Brands that are enjoying the downtime are the ones who are technologically savvy. So they are all working from home. They are all delivering. They are all their deadlines have been shifted by a week instead of 3 weeks. Versus something like production where that is hands-on. Especially in fashion, which is the second largest object made by hand. Apart from automobiles. So it is heavily handmade and heavily produced. So, the supply chain, it's not like a pharmaceutical company where you get a formula and then you just mass produce that particular thing. In fashion, it's just produced again and over innovated. The innovation cycle doesn't stop. So the creative implications are far longer. The abuse of creativity and of resource, both together. So just from a manufacturing standpoint, it's a good step back. People are evaluating things, looking at like what is really required and how does one build a business out of pure storytelling rather than just supplying wherever the demand is.
So, Nimish, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been reading about a fair number of brands that are skipping, say, the production of the next seasonal collection. So, given the current scenario where we are kind of like witnessing, and probably we may get into like a longer lockdown, how will or should brands manage this disruption in production?
The thing is, see, we are all sitting ducks right now. Everybody is just evaluating plan A and B and C, and then there is the superficial plan where what if it doesn't fly? Because clothes are not the first thing people want to buy when the lockdown's taken up. I don't think people are running into stores to shop new clothes. I think they're all getting life in order. They are all getting their priority list in order. So just because the lockdown's up, the sentiment is bruised. Shopping sentiment is bruised. Indulgence, self-adornment. People will do their basic upkeep, but they're not going to go look for that new dress that they've been dying to get. There is a certain fatigue of what comes out and whether people want it or not. I've lost train of thoughts, but you'll have to tell me again before.
Perfect.
Yeah. So
what I was just trying to ask is like, do you think like now with brands, like exactly what you're saying, the extension of what exactly you're saying that, I mean, it's not like shopping for the next big outfit is going to be as your essential spend right now. The fact that brands are also looking to pause the production of your next season's collection.
Right.
How many younger brands, like, or actually even like the big complex elephant brands, how do they manage this disruption in production?
So see, with smaller brands, they are boutique businesses, they are very light on their feet, and any clever business is swift and they're light on their feet. They can manage disruption. It impacts everyone. With larger corporates, what happens is there is a certain there is backlog of production. Clever brands have segregated what is their core product, what is their indulgence product. So because it's fed in several ways. It's not like bridal market, which is one way, where there are no several ways to make a bridal product. There is only one way. Versus in ready to wear, there are several components, and it all comes together in helping sell product. So they can overcome. There is a loss of time. There is a massive wastage of resource, but because we know the cause, that resource is not going to get just burnt up. People will apply raw materials into new designs or use it for next season. So there is that. It's not food. It's not like loss of a crop.
You're not sitting on a perishable.
Exactly. So for us, it's not it is a loss because then there is a warehousing timing, and then there's logistics, and colors are play a key important role. So if
Yeah.
if we produce things in a certain color for a certain season, that can't be used
Yeah.
until the year is changed, and by the next year that color may be irrelevant. So we've
Changes.
lost
Yeah.
that. So whatever is that topical focus sort of things that make us look beautiful, and it's like the garnishing, that is the perishables for us, and then there is a loss
Yeah.
in that. But at the end, the core is super strong. So yeah, it's again, once everything opens up, and then everybody's like looking at each other's face, right? Like there is no formula, and nobody's going to like literally lead this thing.
Yeah.
They will lead in their own capacity, because then that's the best thing
Yeah.
they can do. Individually,
Yeah.
each and every brand is going to make their own goal of like, we can do this best, not what the neighbor is doing, or not what other brands are doing, and what the best business
Yeah.
practice is.
Yeah, because appetites differ, I feel, across the board in
Exactly.
any.
Yeah, true.
So, Nimish, in the last few years, we've seen this rise in the conscious shopper, the conscious brand, in the fashion space. I don't think it's new to you for sure,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
feel from a macro point of view, we've seen, in the last, say, 12 to 18
yeah,
months, we've seen that rise.
yeah,
There's this raging debate the last 12 months about just the thoughtlessness of our consumption patterns of faster, not fewer, bigger is better, more and more. Um, it's time to kind of smell that freshly brewed pot of coffee and also acknowledge that this pace of consumption is not sustainable.
yeah,
Fashion accounts for a shocking percentage of our landfills. The
yeah,
fact that certain countries across Asia, they are using upcycled, recycled, fabrics back into their countries.
yeah.
So I think my question is that in this post-COVID world, are we going to see this gravitational shift in retail? Do you feel shopping patterns may shift, or not really? We're pleasure seekers, and it may go back to business as usual.
So I think there is definitely a massive learning even in a rural area. So now I can't discount the fact that this whole consciousness is an urban phenomena, or for people, all the hipsters in Bandra, and like, the cool kids, and, people who eat avocado. It's not for them. It has really hit every single person, right? Everybody knows why they're not going to work for 3 weeks, including a villager. Like it is it's a massive lockdown. They all understand that it's a virus, but they all are looking back and looking at necessities. Do we really want this? They're being less wasteful. So I think an understanding has seeped in terms of the alarming nature of our overconsumption. Let's go back to the cause of this overconsumption. It's technology, while it's helping us reach out, it is also creating this sort of greenwash, because what happens is, traditionally you do a show, and then 6 months later you get that garment, but because of Instagram and because of the technology that we're so used to, you get to see it now and you want it immediately, which is why for us, like online sales, or for other brands, it's plateaued purely because people want them now. Nobody wants to order
Yeah.
and wait 6 months.
Yeah.
They just want it now, whether they like it or they don't like it. So technology has done that part, and technology will do the teaching now. It will educate of what happens with overconsumption. These are the numbers you are getting, like air quality index. Who knew 5 years ago there was enough pollution then? But now it has become the hit word. It's because of technology, because of of what is going on. Like now, people will buy clothes, and then clothes should have like your, what is that, graph code, which you can scan, and then that can actually say that this is the amount of carbon footprint that it's offsetting, or this is the labor. There are boutique businesses which actually sign tailors' names just to bring that humanity into the garment, to say that this is
Yeah.
actually handmade and we know this person. So
Yeah.
humaneness and humanity will come into product. That itself will slow things down. The price will go up, because we don't want to pay less. We want to produce less. So we want to take our time, pace it. Brands will have different stories to say. So one brand, like if you go to, like, say, a Zara or a Massimo Dutti, you're not going to get everything from 25 rupees up onto 25,000. They will break it up. They will create different brands. If you look at
Yeah.
H&M Group, they have And Other Stories, which is a lot more premium. They have H&M, which is
Yeah.
budget. So and Cost, which is a different kind of premium. because then it's a different emotion. And then they are breaking that customer segment rather than sending everybody into this one store, which looks like a marketplace. So brands are learning different type of storytelling techniques, and then keeping the carbon footprint less on that. So what has happened is H&M has diverted their older customers to and other stories, or they've diverted the older customers to COS. So they don't need to open that many more H&Ms, and then they don't need to open that many and other stories in the scale of H&M. So the
But
scale
tell me,
is
Nimish, does all of it, I mean, just from like kind of one brand storyteller to another, tell me, like, does all of it sometimes kind of reduce down to a little bit of talk and less walk? Because at the end of the day, the parent company believes in a certain vision.
Correct. So there will have to be a lot of talk, because we still don't know the problem. We don't know the problem is the person who wants to do business and make money, or is the problem customer, or is the problem technology, or so once we identify a problem, it's very easy to troubleshoot it. The fact that problem is a periphery, it's an atmosphere of problem, which is why there is no best business practice or solution for it. Everybody's trying to create their own sort of solutions within this particular problem. So it is, very few brands have been able to walk the talk, but talking is good. There has to be enough talking and crisis like this to be able to evolve out of it. Because the thing is, if it were the problem with fashion industries, it doesn't risk health. It's not a humanitarian issue. So what happens is with, like, say, food, for example, expiry date, if it was not published, it's a problem, right? It may kill somebody, which is why through government compliances, those expiry dates are there, which is why once it's gone off, you just have to suck it up and throw it. You cannot do anything about it. Fashion, on the other hand, is a long-term product, which kind of stays in the loop, and it keeps polluting, and it keeps causing lots of other issues. So it's good to have that talk. There is no solution for it, even on a government level. Like nobody can come and say this is the right thing to do, because fashion goes right from, like, your 99 rupee denim to all the way up to like a 9 lakh rupee lehenga.
Yeah. But see, I mean, I feel, and this is my observation across industry, across the board. I feel like usually there's space for everything and everyone under the sun. But I feel like one of the most asked questions that we got before the session went live was that, is this some kind of like a signal for fast fashion conglomerates to take stock, kind of introspect, maybe reassess their volume game? Do we really need 52 seasons of fashion? Do you think brands could some of them move to a seasonless model, or do you think that's too ideal and naive as an idea?
No, it's not true. The reason why you see 52 seasons is exactly how they will do 52 seasons, and eventually everything will become seasonless. So the expansion of season is to burst the whole bubble, right? And then you just stay there. You can't go from 4 seasons into no season. So now they've done 4 seasons into various deliveries. So 52 seasons are various deliveries and drops, which is to excite customer walking into store. So yes, we are going into non-seasonal, we are going into transitional. So yes, you may not find 4 coats in Zara in Bombay in November or December, because now they've figured a way how to not do that. No, we had it. It was always there. It was a joke.
But can you imagine? I mean, is it needed?
Half of the store would be empty, but then it was because it was part of the visual mandate or whatever. It was part of the product offering. They couldn't not display that. So the thing is, this intel has been floating in the market since several years. It is an alarming situation. Bigger conglomerates have the luxury of building research teams and think tanks and investing in thoughts of where the customer is going, what the age patterns are, which country has more young people, which one has more hipster ones. So they understand, and then
you slice that data.
Exactly. Yeah, they have access to all these data. It's not the fact that they're not doing anything about it, which is exactly why bigger, larger companies have launched smaller boutique businesses, because they know that it will have to fracture it. They can't just take one. It's not that American way of like, oh, we are TK Maxx and we're big and it's going to be like we'll take over the world. Now they don't want to take over the world. They want to infest, right? They want to get into smaller segments. And then that's the strategy of building smaller boutique businesses that address various demographics. It is about getting local. It is about addressing local communities and understanding what they want, what they like, what they address, and then showing that in design. So brands.
That's very interesting you say that. No, please go ahead.
No, so brands are smarter. There are some brands which are obviously vindictive, and they're in it for the share price, and they're just making the money. But a lot of conscious brands are investing in technology that helps them offset any sort of effluence, any sort of wastage that comes out, because they see money in that as well. So they are avoiding wastage, not because it's the right thing to do, because there is you can put a tag on it, and that would become a clever business thing to do, of not overproduce, because then people are not buying, and then they're having to throw it.
Nimish, I feel like at this specific point in time, it's shown the interdependence in market and economies. Like you said just a minute back, that yeah, we are a global village, and I think that's incredible. But I feel it's also displayed a slightly more vulnerable side to for a lot of industries. The lockdown has kind of shown also the kind of the purchasing power of the Chinese yuan, and there's so many reports out there where luxury brands saw this kind of like sharp decline in sales when the country was in lockdown. I think it's fairly established that yep, they are one of the biggest consumers, but it also controls majority of manufacturing services for a lot of brands in the fashion industry across the globe. Do you see patterns in manufacturing kind of like having to change? Do you see maybe like more domestic manufacturing emerge from this?
So yeah, yes and no. What happens is, like with each country, when they build that sort of power of being able to supply better design, better product, it comes through inbuilt or sort of incubated research, or whether it is through labor or it is through design. So, for example, if India went through crisis in terms of we supply largest number of embroidery, so the world comes to India for beading and embroidery and goes to China for ready to wear. So if something were to happen to India, they may not necessarily find an alternative for embroideries. They may just move on the buying pattern. So, for example, if a small brand like mine would feel like, okay, China is not necessarily the smartest thing to do, what we will do is we'll try to find local solutions. They may not be a replacement, but we would have evolved our design, and then we would have tweaked that requirement. So, for example, in food industry, if importing an avocado will just become ridiculously expensive, you are going to go to local grown ones, or you're going to just change your menu. You're going to be like, okay, I don't want to do this avocado anymore.
But unlike food, the local solution to a lot of procurement for the food industry, I understand you have, but a lot of them also offer slightly more economical alternatives. In fashion, because of the volume game, sometimes it's not very economical to also kind of like redo your manufacturing kind of spends.
Sure, but
is that a cost that will have to be inputted now for businesses?
Yeah, and also it's an opportunity for manufacturers to know that while we are shaking our sort of value systems, everybody else is within the supply chain. So manufacturers already know that why is this business going to China? Why can't we do it ourselves? So that research is going on, and they are trying. A lot of our mills are trying very hard to be able to produce the kind of fabric they do, find alternatives, and we've created like a great sort of space for ourselves within cotton and denim and whatnot. But then when it comes to polyesters and synthetic fibers, the durability they offer, the access to raw material China has, we don't have. But we will learn, and we will start providing that within our country. And also we look at other resources, we look at other materials. As far as that volume game is concerned, then it goes back to our original discussion. Will there be volume? Are people still wanting Like, if it's one T-shirt, do they want 100 units or do they still want 100,000 units? So, so we're looking at like, why can't we make 100 units every month, or stagger it? So people will sprinkle this. They'll take this as a learning. Obviously, rigid companies will want to stick with it, and they'll be like, oh, it's not possible. It's not possible. The smaller ones will be very swift and create newer pilot projects for big ones to look into. So,
so a lot more agility for the smaller ones.
Exactly, yeah. So we go back onto the pilot mode of like, okay, let's try this for next 2 years if it works, and then it may work. So a good example is somebody like as large as Raymonds saw the sort of big rise of khadi and artisanal textiles, and then eventually did a capsule collection using designer brands. But then it took them that while, it seeped in, and then they were open to taking an idea like this, while it is completely not in the scheme of things for Raymonds. Raymonds is a mill which makes mechanized fabrics. Then why will they invest in a handloom or in an artisanal thing? Because then for their retail division, they wanted the customer to get what is on top of. So even somebody like Raymonds will address it. So sorry, one second. Are you still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. It's very blotchy.
No, that's very interesting. Also, like, just to address that automation, the kind of like the entry of employing or just employing a lot more automated processes in manufacturing.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. So yesterday, I don't know if the DSS or a couple of days, or every day seems like rolling into one another. I read how Sephora US, they've had to let go a lot of their part-time staff. Across, a lot of industries, especially food and hospitality, anyone in the service industry, like job losses have been an extremely sad but inevitable truth. For this sector, for the fashion industry, what are your thoughts? Where are we headed?
Oh my God, that's our biggest challenge. To reverse migrate all the labor. It is because fashion industry is all handmade. We depend on labor, and it is extremely labor intensive. So the fact that this was not addressed or thought through, because when you're sending all the tailors back to their native spots, it's not the cheapest thing for them. It's not like, oh, I'll go and come back. It is that it's a cost thing for them, which they never see back, and it's a big cost for them to go, come back. Loss of time, not making money throughout that lockdown period, and then for tailors or for mid-level tailors or semi-skilled tailors, the biggest competition has been agriculture. So what happens is a lot of labor. They compare whether farming is more rewarding than being a skilled tailor in a city. So when it hits that, even they are thinking things through. Why are we living in a city? Why don't we? Because city doesn't treat us well. They're throwing us out in a time of crisis. Eventually, our village is still like keeping us together, and there is sanity. So then they will think like, okay, can I just make like 5,000 rupees less in a month and just live in my own village because my overhead is not going to be very high. So there will be those things that we will have to consider. That what if the amount of labor that went out, obviously all of it is not coming back because we didn't send them out. They went out through, they were pressured into going out. So they may not necessarily come back at the same time. So we will have like a very, very sort of low down on the number of labor, and especially with large sort of studio companies where they employ several tailors, that will become an issue. Deliveries will go for a toss because output won't be the same. It's an issue, but I think it can be resolved because at the end of the day, we do have access to that talent. So it will have to come. It'll be like a case to case, for every company, depending on where your factory is located and where your heavy migration of labor was from. So we'll have to really see. But it is that is another round of recovery. That once the lockdown goes away, we'll have to probably wait it out for another 2 weeks for labor to settle in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Even in the hospitality and the service industry, it's not as immediate a turnaround as one would imagine.
Yeah, because for
to just get back onto your feet.
Sure. It's for us. It's not like just going back and switching on the machine again. It
Yeah.
is really like, touching base with everybody. Everybody's health and
Yeah.
safety. Is everyone okay? Emotional sort of turmoil. Like just counseling everyone, making sure everybody's back on the same track, and then addressing internal needs first. Then moving back into full scale production.
Yeah. Nimish, what about the big marketing spends or the big marketing budgets? With a lot of like on-ground marketing and advertising campaigns being paused, do you reckon brand investments may pivot or move online?
Again, all of these things, they're not effect of this cause. They have been going on because I think all of us have been restless for the last couple of years. It was this crisis has just come to slow things down. Everybody's been restless about like, is print there? Is online the right thing? Is influencer marketing the right investment? Because it just feels so frivolous, and you feel like, are we really? Is this a long-term investment or is it a quick fix? So people are looking at it as so the pivot will happen. It may not happen because of this cause. Pivot will happen through intelligence, through understanding your customer better, through through knowing whether you want to do an outdoor ad. Is that the right catchment, or like how are you integrating with other industries? Like are we associating more with films? Are we associating more with real life promoters? We like, who knew that sort of your caretakers and your delivery boys will become heroes to save a situation like this. People are crediting them like they would credit an army. So the aspirational jobs have changed, and like becoming a nurse all of a sudden is going to be like, oh my god, there's so much more respect for it. Ethics are changing because we'll always be grateful to anybody who's a doctor. Like, be in the good books, like we need you. So all of that, there will be pivot in way people are sort of looking at other jobs and professions. So
Yeah.
marketing spends is something, I think marketing gurus they have a different sort of mindset. You're one of them. Obviously observation and just being like on top of the game. And I think it's association, right? It's not really, I feel marketing is so much more sensitive. It is about, it's about the right tone. It's not about making that bang. Like that's the worst kind of marketing. It's really about like that, that tone and building that relationship. And I think we've come out of this whole A1, B1, that whole sort of textbook way of marketing. And, this is the catchment and this is the group. And people ask me, who's your customer? I'm like, everybody. It's like, how can I say, like, we make clothes for teenage girls or for like older customer? Like, which older customer wants to look older? Like, and which teenage girl wants to look skinny and teeny tiny? It's everything has changed. Like, older customers want to look young. They are spending a lot more. So the whole understanding of markets and that whole graph, which whoever made, is now we just have to burn it. So then it really comes back into community. It comes back into community marketing about like, who are the 12 people you want to influence and who are going to become your flag bearers. And then that applies to a very large company. It applies to a small boutique business. It applies to everyone, right? How are we engaging them in a product directly rather than
That's so
unnecessarily
true.
building aspiration.
Nimish, I feel I agree with you. I don't think these are new conversations per se.
Yeah.
These are conversations that a lot of like marketing agencies like ours, brand managers, brand heads, we've been having this chat for a minimum of 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say this was the last FY talk. Everyone
Correct.
has been antsy, frustrated, trying to understand where do you peg value, what is the return,
Yeah.
tangible or intangible. I'm not talking about the tangible return only, but it's a conversation that is not new.
Yeah.
The fact that that funnel effect of really trying to understand what is that quality use of your marketing dollar,
Yeah.
I feel now it may be a slightly more pronounced.
Hmm.
I think people are going to be a lot more careful and conservative and try be mindful about, but do we really need this? Do we really need to kind of like market it in this
possible fashion. And also
Sure,
the template version of marketing, I feel that book was thrown away like
of course, but
in
Shreya, when were
frustration last year.
but tell me one thing: when were marketers ever indulgent? Marketers are the sharpest brains. I don't think they've ever overindulged anything. They've always stayed on top of the trend. They have built that sort of leadership in what sort of what should be the communication. Product making is one thing, and then telling the story
Yeah.
is completely different. So I don't think marketers were as you mentioned, right? Like last 2 years or 3 years, everybody's been figuring what is the next medium, because those long form ads are over, print ads are over, your advertorials are over. Like now magazines are not entertaining that because you see through that. That's a patch, right? It's just like a sellotape on a problem.
You'd be
Uh,
surprised.
So must be like newer brands, like then it's like brands who want to make money. They are like they don't necessarily hold a soul, and then there are short term
Yeah.
goals for them. So sure, everybody
Yeah.
has their own reasoning.
Yeah.
But when it comes to building a brand in a long term way, like everybody's been very very careful. Everybody's been seeping through whether it is investor money or whether it is personal savings. Everybody understands like sensitivity of building a brand. So this crisis, it just challenges a marketer to do better. But then marketers have always been challenged. The client comes and says, "No, I don't
Yeah.
want this." Like, and then you sort of rethink and you shake things up. So I feel it's another day at office for a marketer, because again, you just wait and analyze the
I
situation.
just say, Nimish, on probably on and this is a very risky statement. Thank God, like nothing here is, meant to be misconstrued. But I want to say, on behalf of a lot of marketers and brand strategy professionals that I know, we're sighing and relief. Because
Yeah,
you say what you're saying, and I agree with everything you're saying. That I think the one template trap that a lot of brands kind of fell prey to last year
yeah,
was not necessarily understanding how to use influencer marketing to their advantage.
correct.
I actually am a big advocate of that vertical of marketing.
Yeah.
But I also feel that an intelligent use of influencer marketing should always aid the business, not distract or kind of
Sure, sure,
edit
sure.
it away.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So a lot
last
of
year,
people
I
have
think
done.
we saw too many template versions come to
Oh yeah,
play,
yeah, of course, of course. And and then that almost contaminated because a new influencer is faking the template to project
Yeah,
themselves as like a demanding influencer. So
yeah.
I feel that was a blip, right? Like that is not, it's not as robust. Of course we want influencers. They are tastemakers. We wanna, a lot of people want
Absolutely.
to follow them for their choice of, for their creativity for a particular eye. But
Yeah.
engaging them in a sort of different way, like that itself is uh, last year was like a joke for that particular segment. It was so bad, but I hope that
From a
gets
creative point of view, it was very frustrating because
yeah,
you would look at certain kind of projects come to play. It was a fantastic team, it was a fantastic brand, the kind of avenue to kind of your route to customer, it could have
sure,
been so much more detailed and nuanced. But I think
yeah.
it kind of like went back and it fell back to a very templatized solution, which
Yeah,
was very
I think
boring.
so what the problem with that was that we could identify, like, if influencer marketing were, if you couldn't group a bunch of people within that, it would have been fine. Because for me, influencer marketing, what it did not do is find real influencers. They went on to how many followers these guys have. So
Yeah.
that became the problem. But clever brands actually did use that opportunity and identify the real influencer, somebody who has like 8,000 followers, but then is talking to each and every one of them. Versus somebody who has 80,000 is demanding money but has no idea who's following them. So there was that opportunity loss in that segment within influencer marketing. But it's a big there is purity within that as well, and I don't think that something like that fizzles out so quickly. We will
Hmm.
go on with it. There will be hygiene. There will be better clarity in individual
Yeah.
role and engagement and how they collaborate with brands.
Nimish, do you think because of current times, there may be a slight change in how we create content? For example, and I know how frivolous this sounds, but this line is just stuck with me. And Radhika from my team, she mentioned that, do we really need to see a cute OTD as we enter one of the worst recessions? Is it almost tone deaf? Is it cavalier? Or, shouldn't content change a little bit now?
Yeah, but then you're outsourcing content. That is what happens. It's like you pay peanuts, you're gonna get monkeys. So it starts with that whole thing where I was like, how do you want to activate so much content? Then you have to start
Yeah.
looking at the bottom, right? Like there is no time for incubating a content. You need to take some
Yeah.
time. You need to really figure what is your story, and then when you're outsourcing your stories, this is what is happening. That outfit of the day is self-made. The thing is, you're showing somebody what the end product is, and then they're replicating it to become a creator. It takes a while. They will
Yeah.
not like who's doing this. It's all college graduates, right? People who are just they have interest in fashion, they have interest in lifestyle.
No, 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 not
No, no,
just
no.
them.
I'm actually waiting on the post.
My favorite like template that I see so much on my feed is this like beautiful. It's gorgeous. I mean, really, it doesn't go to take away from the fact that a lot of these men and women they look like a zillion bucks, but
Yeah.
it's this great OTD, and then you insert a roomy quote, and I'm just like, sorry, what? What am I focusing on? So I don't know. Shouldn't
But it's
content
cute,
now
yeah. It should stay. I
change?
love it. We need to
I
see
mean,
what
I
they
don't
do.
know. So tell me, Nimish, like, okay, like, tell me, because you work so beautifully with two of like some amazing brands. Do you think our readers and audiences are we? I mean, do we know how to tell apart from casual, fun-ish content from tone-deaf content? Are we? Can we distinguish?
we see we may want to distinguish, but the minute your catchment is much bigger, it changes. Like sometimes it happens with me. Like I will think of an idea and I'll feel like, oh my god, this is like the most smartest thing, and like my team members will be like, we only you think this is smart, like and it's too pseudo. So there has to be a limit of like the pseudo intellectual, like it's like kids who read Reader's Digest versus kids who read Archie's and Jughead. Like they're two different kids completely. So what side of the classroom you're sitting on, and then who is your catchment? Who do you want to sell? Right? You make an intelligent line, they won't get it. You put up like a shitty photo, they get it and they want it right now. And the money has got nothing to do with it. So I have seen like products of very high value sell because of okay. Another great example is all that is happening on television. Who in their sane mind appreciates the television industry on your daily soap operas and things like that. When
That's
I
very
was
true.
growing up, they would air one episode a week, or they'd air two episodes a week, and they were so intelligent. Like I don't know if you remember Tara, which was like so progressive, women's rights. Dekh Bhai Dekh, which
Yeah.
was a stage theater comedy on television, but so intelligent and so inclusive. With sort of sexuality, with sort of family values. It was so intelligent then. And look at now what is going on, which is like ape shit. Like, why are we looking at this sort of rural, sagas? But then that's the truth. That is the reality of our country. They're all mega hit shows. It's because 99% of the population wants it. We are talking about the 1% population. So the minute you know what your catchment is, where you want to market, you will have to adapt to those sort of falling trends and talk to your customers in the language they understand, because eventually you want them to experience your product. You've spent so much time and energy in creating a product or a service. You want that going in the house, not which way it is going in. So again,
I mean, like that's what they say. That a lot of the content, it's also like, I mean, you know how they say sometimes it should mirror society, but I find a lot of it being escapist.
It is.
where
Yeah.
it's really it's not a true reflection of what's happening in today's times. But I would
It's
really hope,
debatable.
and I
It's
wonder.
debatable. There is because I see that in my family, and I see like half of the family supporting this kind of crass entertainment, and other half like has no clue what is going on. And I don't feel it's just my family. It is like a lot of our families
Oh, absolutely.
where they actually enjoy watching crass entertainment rather than
Yeah.
something else. So even within ourselves, there is that extreme. So there is
Yeah.
escapism, there is reflection of society. What I feel is missing is aspiration. We are not we've just forgotten to aspire people. Uh,
Mm.
so toning.
I wonder if it's because everything is so accessible. Everything is, I mean, everyone is so accessible now.
It's accessible at the same time. How do you say, there is just, it's not damming, it's like a free flowing river. When it dams, you kind of get to see the stillness. Here it's just like
Mm.
constant and it's exhaustive, which is why there is fatigue. There's just no build up of anything. When we make clothes, we want to spend like 6 months building a collection. We don't have those 6 months. We have to start showing things in a month, 2 months. What is new? What is new? Customers are demanding for what is new. And we can't really put our foot down and say, listen, wait for 4 more months, because we do want that billing. We were like, no, the
Yeah.
customer wants it. Let's just show them what else can we make, and it's short change and made quickly. So there's, again, it's
So
looping back.
is fingers crossed that if marketing strategies are going to change and refresh itself, do you think content
Yeah,
creators
of
would
course,
also try refresh?
absolutely, absolutely, because there will be that demand, right? There will be demand for better content. It will be rewarded with a fair price, a fair sort of time to be able to create that
Yeah.
content. Because if I come to you as a content provider, if I come and you say, listen, I don't like this, but I know you have the aptitude in you, take some more time. And if you take off that pressure, you sort of incubate and invest in that idea and use it for a longer term, you will see returns as a marketer. So you will have to build that faith in the content creator, engage the content creator, and then if there's fairness in the whole transaction, I think everybody will do better, right? And I don't think
Mm.
it's because it's coming out of because we are all coming out of a crisis, but I think that's just the way storytelling goes. There is
Absolutely.
fatigue in markets with or without crisis.
Hmm. Nimish, do you have like 5 minutes to take on some
Yeah,
questions
sure.
from our
Yeah.
viewers? Okay, awesome. Here's when I reveal my true age and put these on.
Oh my.
Read the question. All right. Okay. First question for you. What's the one trend that you are going to steer clear from, or that you're not a fan of?
I'm gonna
I
steer
think
clear
this is
of
more
trends.
specifically for you.
Yeah. No, so I'm gonna steer clear from trends. I don't think I wanna invest in a particular trend. I wanna grow old into things rather than change things. So I, I mean, it may not be true. I will look. Something will inspire, and it will probably be on trend, and I may wanna indulge. But I
Hmm.
will steer clear from very content creator influencer trends which are very like, oh, this is a crop jacket. So I may not, yeah, I don't want to pinpoint a particular thing, because I feel everything, each body type is made for something. I may be able to
Hmm.
pull off like a Japanese look and very chic, but then a beefed up boy who works out like mad is not going to be able to pull that off. Like, it just, there's no synergy there. Like, it doesn't work. Same thing with me. I may not be able to pull off like a very fitted Italian cut suit. It's because I just don't look right in
Of
it.
course you
So,
will.
of course, I can pull off everything. No, but steer clear from trends, comical trends. Let's put it
Yeah.
like this: steer clear from comical
You know, I
trends.
read such an interesting line that have we lost our individual style because everyone seems to be, following the trends
I
and
feel
everyone
no,
ends up
I
looking quite similar.
I feel it's. I feel in our country, at least, people are building their story. In fact, they've got more ammunition to build personal style. because of various trends. And like people are understanding there is a certain level of uniformity because of the way it gets dictated, but there is enough around, like people will. And the thing is, we people forget fashion is also an essential. It is, a lot of people are not interested in fashion, but they are consumers of fashion. So they will go for the safest thing that they know everybody else is doing. Not everybody has to be a trendsetter. Like a lot of people, like, tunic is a great example. Like every single mom has switched on to tunic and leggings. It's because they found comfort in this. They figured that, oh, it works for them. It's covering their hips. Even if they don't have, there's an illusion in their head, and they just stick with those templates. And everybody looks like, batch of 2012. And it's just because it was a fail-safe, seasoned trend.
Yeah, no, you're right. The next question is, what is your take on the future of print magazines?
Oh my God, print magazines. Uh, they are so creative. The talent pool in that whole thing is just incredible. And I really feel like, they also need to sort of slow down. They are all, and again, this crisis has been going on for 10 years, so nothing new for print magazine and their future in question. They have all managed to move digitally, and they're doing great job digitally. What we are missing out is tangible objects, like those magazines which were always treated as coffee table books, like going to a salon and just waiting and flipping through a magazine is an experience on its own, or just receiving a magazine in your mail, like it's such a nice sensory experience. So of course it's downsides. They've had an opportunity to grow in digital space. Advertisers have moved from print to digital. Print is an expensive medium. It is resourceful, like they're cutting trees to print a book which can easily become digital. So there's future for communication, right? There's future for storytelling. Magazines will stay. Forms of magazines will stay. Magazines will become enterprising. Magazines may become fashion companies. They can start selling clothes. They already know how to make it. They already have access to
I
it.
mean, some of them have investigated that channel in the last
Correct.
12 months.
Correct. So, like, Monocle, which is a great magazine, does beautiful specs, and they do beautiful shots, and they collaborate, and they're getting into retail space. So magazine, like any other business, is a business. They will figure a way to sort of innovate via multiple platforms. They're doing a lot more collaborations. They're doing a lot more events. Magazines are making money through events, and it's a very profitable channel for them. There is future. There is no future for like a very jaded. But then at the same time, I really feel like if the company is that old, what's the harm in archiving it? I'm a strong believer in, if the founder has done it, I think they should have like a beautiful sort of see off and park it and let it be like a collector's copy and archive the magazine. You don't need to really just keep on running it. So like understanding of like now is a good time to pull the plug, not out of a failure, but out of saying like, no, we'll do something else. Like, talent can still continue working, but I just mean magazine as a person, as a property.
So exploring almost like, say, a revised, refreshed version
Exactly.
of, say, your core idea.
Correct. Yeah. What was your core idea? Was to feature new talent, feature people. There are so many more design shows. There are so many more design platforms. There are more expos. Magazine can become a great expo center. So there are a lot of opportunities for them to sort of divert into.
Okay, the next question is, what is your key takeaway from the current crisis, and how will this creatively impact your businesses?
Lots of takeaways, lots of, I think somebody like me who's been working in industry for a long time, and we've always sort of looked at sustainability approach. Now we're questioning our understanding of sustainability. Is what I would believe is sustainable from last 15 years. Is that really true? Is that the future? And over a period of time, you realize, look, khadi is probably not the future. Maybe future is going to come out of a mill. which is going to answer mass production, is going to
Yeah.
answer sustainability at lifestyle stage. You know, how we wash clothes and how long does it survive. So it's there's a lot of learning. I think we have to be brave. We have to stay true to. See, the thing is, when you're running a business, you're creating another body. Like it's literally like a human form, right? Like there has to be purity in that business. There has to be that ethics. We have to do good in terms of the spiritual angle of the company. Maintain those aspects, like be right to your employees, be right to your customers, say the right thing, and transparency. So for us, when you address all those things, you're doing the best you can. That's a great learning to just hold on to that, because then people will see it indirectly and then they will come back and support or help you grow. So take back is really like hang in there, do the right thing, be smart about it, and not hold on to like preconceived notions of like, oh, this according to me is design, or I can't go back and be like, no, we will only do 52 collections a year because we made a lot more money. Neither am I going to be like, now I'm going to do 2 collections a year and be lazy about it. So it's not about reducing your output. You still need to yield more. You're growing as a person. You need to deliver more, and then that shouldn't impact business volume.
Yeah, that's really great. Can I ask the last two
People
questions
think
for this evening?
it's time to go become a little bit lazy, right? It's like, I'm going to do less. I'm like, do less and
Oh
do what
no,
with your
yeah.
spare time.
There's this great line doing the rounds that if you feel like this is the time to be lazy or enjoy boredom, you're truly blessed. If that's your only problem and thought,
Yeah, exactly.
you're a separate level of blessed right now.
Completely. Yeah.
Okay, so the second last question for the evening. As a brand, should one be relevant and create products as a reflection of what is happening, or try continue and remain to be aspirational? I think this is combining two of the things we spoke about.
Yeah. I feel, especially in fashion, I feel aspiration is very important. It is so key because then you get to lead the market. There's need for change and innovation within fashion compared to anyone else, any other industry. So aspiration is very important. You have to be aspiration with open arms, so not intimidating. Like people consider aspiration as intimidating, so that may not necessarily be the right thing to do. And you have to look at, and you have to address and adjust to existing crisis or existing situations, and answer those as well. So it'll always have to be a combination, but I'm a strong believer of building aspiration, because everybody has clothes. Like, why do they want more clothes? It's really going to be about the way you feature it. It is about promoting one particular thing that you believe in, and you feel like that can take over. So it's very important.
Okay. So Instagram has reminded me that I have 20 seconds remaining and I had to hit the 60-minute mark only with you. You're like the only person I've done this with, which goes to say that we really need to get those drinks.
Let's do it as soon as this thing goes out.
Okay. Nimish, thank you so much for this.
Pleasure. Thank you.